Good evening, folks. Welcome to this edition of Curveball Convos with your boys at Carolina Curveball and a special guest, long awaited. Should have had him on sooner. It's been a minute. Caleb Connelley from College Baseball Central. Caleb, how is it going, bud?
It's been good, man. It has been a couple months since I've last been on here, but it's always a pleasure to come on, and I'm glad y'all asked me to come on for the regional preview show.
Yeah, no questions about it. It's the best time of year. It's almost like Christmas. Christmas morning was on Monday. Me and Reed watched it together after we spent some time in Charlotte watching the Coke 600. Had a good old time there. Hope everyone had a good Memorial weekend. Braxton, how was yours, man?
Yeah, it was good. Was able to watch the selection show. Was able to get some late time in, even though the weather kind of stunk. But just excited, man, for these regionals. I've kind of been looking at the field over. I kind of wasn't a fan at first, but the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm liking it. So I'm just ready to see all the action get going on Friday. Hopefully, we get good weather. But we will see. But I'm ready to dive in.
Yeah, Reed, how was your weekend, bud? Did you have some fun this weekend?
Yeah, can't complain. Good weekend. Good to see you come in town to visit. Struggling to contain my excitement for Friday. It feels like this week's been dragging on forever. Just ready for it to be Friday.
That is correct. Caleb, we'll start off with you. The regular season went by pretty daggone fast. I feel like we talked to you not too long ago, and we were about halfway, and just the regular season went by pretty quick. And just your thoughts on the regular season and just the field, like as a whole.
Yeah, like you were saying, I mean, the regular season went by super fast. It feels like it was February like last week, and now it's already almost June, and that's how it is every year in college baseball. It feels like it just goes by in a blink of an eye. But I mean, the field came out on Monday. We all saw it, and I didn't have any complaints about it. I didn't think. I mean, I saw a couple of teams that got in that I didn't think really should have got in, but they did. And I mean, I thought the committee did a pretty good job overall. So I mean, the 64 that did get in, I think they got it right for the most part.
That's right. And let's go ahead and get into it tonight. We're going to preview each of the regionals tonight, kind of give our thoughts, analysis, as well as give our prediction. Also, before we get into this, if you did not see what me and Braxton retweeted today on Carolina Curveball, me and Braxton had the pleasure to join Steve and Igo at 94.3 The Game, Hoist the Colors, and we previewed the regionals as well with Steven Igo and Philip Pilkington. So if you don't get a chance, be sure to check Hoist the Colors out at ECU and 94.3 The Game to check that out. We had a blast today and ready to do it again, right, Braxton?
Yeah, let's get it. All right, so we're gonna go alphabetical, I guess, right, Casey?
Yeah, we'll go alphabetical, and I'll let the king of SEC land, Caleb, kick this one off.
Yeah, you got the Athens Regional. Georgia's coming to town. The Duke, Oklahoma State, and Binghamton. Georgia's coming as number 7 overall seed. I think they're going to be the heavy favorites in this regional. I think this is one of the easier regionals for an SEC team this year, and I think Georgia comes away. I think they'll come in perfect out of that regional.
Reed?
Yeah, I mean, Georgia's really good at home. They can really hit the long ball. Robbie Burnett, 20 homers on the season. But I think Duke and Oklahoma State can make some noise in this regional. Obviously, we know about Ben Miller. He's been there before. This Duke team is very capable if they put the pieces together. But Oklahoma State, they really ended the season on a hot note. They were one of the last few teams to sneak in, but they started the season really, really slow. But you look at Harrison Bodenarf, their Friday night starter, could pose a lot of troubles for Duke. 10-1 on the year, 2.77 ERA. I'm pretty excited to watch this regional.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Caleb, if I'm not mistaken, Georgia leads the nation in home runs, correct?
That's correct. That is a hitter-friendly ballpark at Foley Field. I must say that. So you may see a lot of offense.
Correct, yeah. And Duke has a guy in Ben Miller and A.J. Grossi and some other guys on the lineup, but especially Ben Miller that are going to love playing there. I would not be shocked if Ben Miller hits a couple balls into the frat house in right field. Looking forward to this regional for sure. I do have Georgia coming out of this regional personally. They play so well there in Athens. They play a lot of games there all year. It is a launch pad, so I'm going with the Bulldogs. Braxton?
Yep, I'm going Georgia as well. I think Duke is a solid team. You just don't know what Duke team you're going to get. And I think they do have a tough matchup in Oklahoma State, like y'all said. It's just going to depend on what they can do offensively, Duke. I think that their pitching has been better here at the tail end of the season, and they've kind of found a rotation. But like y'all said, Georgia's just they hit the long ball. They've done it all season. They're playing at home. I think it's going to be tough for them to repeat what they did back in 2018 or whatever it was when they won in Athens. So I'm going to go Georgia too.
All right.
So we all went Georgia, or did we go Duke?
I'm taking Georgia.
Yeah, we all went Georgia. Let's move on to Auburn, Casey.
Yeah, and well, I'll lead this one off again with Caleb because Caleb, will you be attending this regional, sir?
Yes, I will be at Plainsman Park for the Auburn Regional with Auburn, NC State, Stetson, and Central Connecticut. Auburn, I mean, it came as a bit of a shock to me as an Auburn fan. It did come as a shock as Auburn got the number 4 overall seed. I thought it'd be around the 7 or 8 range, but coming as a 4, I mean, I'd take it. But as a 4 seed, this is a tough regional. NC State, they started off kind of slow, and they've really picked up as of late. And Stetson, another team out of Atlantic Sun, that's going to be really good. And, I mean, it's going to be a tough regional. I think it will come down to a, if necessary, game. I think Auburn will win this regional just with the depth and the talent we have. But let me tell you, Auburn is young. There's not much postseason experience on that club. But I think Auburn does pull it out with the studs like Ike Irish and Cooper McMurray leading the way.
Yeah, no question about it. And before we get into the regional kind of projections and predictions with Braxton and Reed, you said that you were kind of shocked by the 4 seed. I think our Carolina guys, Reed and Braxton, were kind of shocked by this too, huh, Reed?
Yeah, I mean, you saw my reaction when it came out. I was quite stunned. Obviously, I thought Auburn would be a national seed, but I was quite shocked to see them at number 4, with how Carolina ended the season, winning the ACC tournament, winning 3 out of 4 against Florida State, beating Clemson, crushing them in the ACC title. I for sure would have thought they would have been a top 3 seed, but in the end, your national seed, you can't complain. That's what you want going into to the tournament, though.
Reed, your thoughts on this regional, sir?
Yeah, I like Auburn as well. I agree with Caleb. I think this game will go to a Monday. Stetson could be a tricky matchup for State. They pitch the ball really well. But I like State to get to Monday to play Auburn in a winner take all to go to the Supers, and I think Auburn will beat them.
Braxton?
Yeah, I'm going to go with NC State here. I think this was, by the way, a pairing that we did get right on the 1 and 2 in our last projection. I had a feeling State would end up at Auburn, and they did. I just think that, Caleb mentioned that this Auburn team doesn't have a lot of postseason experience. I think when you think about State, they're a team that's always been able to figure it out in the postseason. Elliott Avent has been able to lead his guys to Omaha a couple of times in the last 3, 4, 5 years. And I think they're going to be able to make a little bit of a run again. It'll kind of depend on what they do with their pitching. I know Dominic Fritton's been really good. He's kind of had a couple of down starts. They lost to Clemson in a close game in the ACC tournament. But I just boil it down to State having a little bit better postseason success than Auburn as of right now. And I think that continues here in this regional. So I'm going to pick NC State at plus 250 to get out of Auburn.
Yeah, as Carolina Curveball, it's hard to go against NC State because they are one of our premier programs. And kind of like you said, Elliott Avent knows how to win in June. He does it every single year. But it is hard to pick against them. But then again, I just don't know. I think that with Avent teams in the past, they have been extremely lenient on a very explosive offense. I mean, last year they had Alec Makarevich, who was outstanding. Kozart, the offense was outstanding. Years past when they make it, the offense has been ridiculous. And I don't think this year's NC State team has an offense that can necessarily score them enough runs to win a game if the pitching gets them in trouble. Because as I stated earlier today, I don't think NC State has absolutely elite pitching. I think NC State has good pitching, just not absolutely elite. So I'm going to have to take Auburn in this regional.
Yeah, I mean, they really struggled too after that sweep against Clemson about a month ago. Obviously they had the chance to win the ACC regular season, crap the bed at home against Stanford. But, yeah, we'll have to see, though.
All right.
moving on.
Reed, I'll let you kick off this one, sir.
I think Texas will run through this regional. Texas, they started off blazing hot. They kind of struggled there, losing some series right there at the end of the season. Obviously lost to Tennessee last week in Hoover. Kansas State, I believe, was another one of those bubble teams that sneaked in. That could be a tricky 2-3 game. I mean, obviously, Kaysen, we're pretty familiar with UTSA, dominated the regular season in the AAC. They could poise trail. I believe they did beat Texas earlier in the year, if I'm not mistaken. So, we'll see. But I think Texas will handle this pretty easily, though.
UTSA did beat them fairly early. I think maybe the first or second midweek of the year. It was very early, and that was February. I'm not saying the team is different, but in my opinion, different season from start to end. But I'm going to take Texas in this regional. I definitely think UTSA is a good team, but I just don't think they'll have enough for Texas personally. I think Kansas State is solid, but I don't think that they can beat UTSA. UTSA has some really good top-of-the-line guys, but I think that as they get down to the bullpen, down to the lineup, I think that Texas just overmatches them with talent. What about you, Caleb?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you too. I'm going to say Texas is just going to overpower this regional. I mean, they started out as the number one team, and I mean, for most of the year, they was number one, and they kind of cooled off a little bit here at the end. But Jim Schlossnagle, he knows how to win. He's been in the postseason before, and he's been on big runs with A&M and TCU, and I think he's going to do it just fine here in Austin, Texas as well.
Braxton?
No, I'm going Roadrunners, man. I just think Texas is on a downward trajectory ever since their big starter, the left-hander, I'm blanking on his name right now, got hurt. What's his name, Caleb? The left-hander. What is it?
The pitcher or the hitter?
The pitcher.
Jared Spencer, yeah.
Yeah, Spencer. Ever since he's gone down, and I just feel like they've lost a lot of. They were the clear number one for a little bit there, but I just think this UTSA team, something about them, this season, I think there's some magic left in them, and I think that they'll beat Texas again at some point if they can get past Kansas State, of course. But yeah, I mean, I've got a buddy on the team as well. Shout out Ty Tilson. I think that this Roadrunner team, although they didn't have the performance they wanted to in the American tournament, they weren't really as concerned with it as other teams like East Carolina was. So I think they're going to be ready to come out here in this regional and make some noise down there in Austin. So I'm going UTSA.
Yeah, everything is on the table down there in Austin for sure.
All right, Baton Rouge.
I don't think we need to go too long about this, Caleb. I think we'll let you give your thoughts, but I mean, this regional is just, I mean, come on. I mean,
LSU came in. LSU got a good draw as number 6 overall seed. They got a very, very good draw, and I think Jay Johnson agrees with me there. And I mean, I saw Dallas Baptist play this year at Jacksonville State, and they can hit the ball. I mean, don't think Dallas Baptist is some slouch, because they're not. They're going to be in there trying to win the regional, and I think they could possibly give LSU a run, but I think they're just way more talented than these 3 teams that are in this regional, and I think they will go on a run and go 3-0 in the regional.
Reed, I know you had some strong thoughts on this on Monday, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's the easiest regional for any of the hosts. Dallas Baptist is a great program. I mean, they made the tournament, I believe, every year since 2014 or 15. Like Caleb said, they might be able to hang with LSU for a little bit, but LSU will just overpower them as that game wears on.
Braxton, do you disagree with any of those points?
I do not. I'm going LSU. Didn't they play Dallas Baptist in the midweek during the season?
It was at Houston, I think.
Yeah, and I believe once LSU kind of got to their bullpen, they've won pretty handily, if I remember correctly. But I'm going to go with LSU to just wipe the floor here at home. I think it's pretty much the public pick here. I mean, Rhode Island was kind of an interesting 3. I thought they would have had a chance to be a 3, and they turned out to be a 3. I'm just kind of surprised that there's no other Power 4 in this region, but I'm going with LSU, obviously. So
I would have loved to see them put like Oklahoma State in here, Louisville or someone like that.
Yeah,
I think we had Louisville down there in ours. along with UTSA instead of Dallas Baptist. But yeah, certainly a good draw for the Tigers.
All right. Well, let's head real close to home. Braxton, I'll let you lead off with this one, sir.
Yeah, so Chapel Hill, I'm pretty happy with the draw that the Heels got. I don't know about you, Reed, but I like this draw. I think Carolina at home, I mean, historically, we've been really, really good at home in regionals and in the postseason in general. I think, we got snubbed a little bit of a higher seed, but all you can ask for is a top 8. We're going to be hosting super regionals regardless. So I think when you look at a team like Oklahoma, I think, Reed, you were saying that they are not even starting their ace against Nebraska. They're trying to
Yeah,
save
they're going to hold Kyson Witherspoon, one of the best pitchers in the country, over 120 strikeouts on the season. They're going to start his brother Malachi on Friday, and I mean it's a huge risk to take. I mean, considering what Nebraska did this past week in Omaha, winning that tournament.
Yeah, and it may work out for them, but this Carolina team's probably the one of the hottest teams in the country right now. They're coming off an ACC tournament win. They're playing really, really good ball on all sides of the ball. They're running the base as well. They're playing good defense. Luke Stevenson's starting to hit the ball well like he did last postseason. And then obviously we've seen what they can do on the mound. Jake Knapp, Jason DeCaro, the bullpen, McDuffie, Ryan Lynch had a really good start in the ACC championship. He's going to be a great arm for them in this regional. I just don't see them having any issues here at home. So I'm going to take the Heels. I think that I like that price even at minus 300. I've got a future on them to win the national championship way back in February. So I'm riding that thing out. But yeah, I should be there at this regional on Saturday. So I'm excited to see them play.
And Caleb, before I get your prediction for this regional, I want to ask you, what is your philosophy, as Reed talked about it? What's your philosophy on who you pitch on Friday night?
If you're Oklahoma or just in general?
In general, and if you're Oklahoma.
Well, if you're a 2 or 3, I think you throw your ace. I mean, you got to win that first game. That's my philosophy. You got to win that first game, because if you don't win that first game, you got to win 4 in a row. You got to win 4 games in a row to win the regional, and I mean that's tough. That's tough to do.
Yeah, no question.
Winning that game 1 is very important.
Yeah, ECU threw Connelley last year versus Evansville, lost game 1 versus Evansville, but it honestly kind of worked out in the end because we saw Burns versus Savage at 11 a.m. the next day. But interesting one. Caleb, your prediction and thoughts on this regional?
I agree with Braxton, but like I was saying, I mean, number 5, North Carolina, I thought there was going to be a number 2 seed, to be honest with you guys. I thought they did get hosed a little bit out of that, but it's a favorable regional. I mean, Oklahoma's good, Nebraska's good, but Oklahoma's throwing Kyson Witherspoon on day 2 on Saturday. I don't know if you make that decision if you're Skip Johnson. I think Nebraska's a hot team right now. They're hitting the baseball very well, and that's a dangerous, bold strategy he's playing there. And if they lose that game, they're in trouble. I'm telling you, they're in trouble. But I got North Carolina. I think they'll take care of business. They've been rolling as of late. Winning the series in Tallahassee at Florida State the last series of the year, and then sweeping through the ACC tournament, destroying Clemson in the championship game. Yeah, I got all Tar Heels in this regional.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Heels here too. I just think I think it's just way too much, and kind of like you said, they were hosed with this seed, but I do think they are satisfied with this regional. It could have been a whole lot tougher in my opinion, so I think they're just fine. Reed, do we get yours?
I mean, yeah, I've got Carolina rolling through it. It certainly would be interesting if Knapp and Witherspoon faced each other Saturday night. That'd be electric. But, like I said, that's a huge risk Oklahoma's taken. Consider, Nebraska was a preseason top 25 team, and it all just came together last week in Omaha. Ty Horn, freshman, I think he threw 120 120 pitches, 8 innings, shutout ball. But Braxton, do you think Carolina pitches to Caro on Friday?
I don't think so. I think they'll stick with their guns. I think they're just going to go with Knapp. Although you could, Holy Cross, I don't know too much about them. I know they obviously won the Patriot League, I think it was. If you want to, now that you know that Oklahoma's not throwing their guy, you could. And I think you'd be just fine against Holy Cross as a bullpen game or DeCaro or whatever. But you've got to win game 1, like Caleb said. So it's kind of – I don't think that Forbes will like to go away from that identity. I think he'll trust his guy. I mean, DeCaro was our number one last year. I mean, he threw game one in Omaha. He threw game one in the regional last year, I believe.
And he pitched really well against Florida State.
Yeah, I don't have any problem throwing DeCaro on Saturday. I have full trust in him in that bullpen. So I think you're going to see Knapp for 7, 8, 9 innings on Friday. So
I agree. I have no issue with either. I think DeCaro's really turned around. He hit a rocky patch right there, right at the middle, right at the beginning of ACC play. But I think he's pitched really well the last 3-4 weeks.
All right. Let's go down the road, not too far. Reed, I'll let you lead this one off, then I'll pass it to Braxton.
Yeah, I think Upstate, Braxton probably agrees with me. I think Upstate is the most dangerous 4 seed out there. Just with their offense, they can absolutely rake the ball. Otherwise, I think Clemson will be somewhat happy with the 2-3 draw. Obviously, West Virginia, they started off house on fire. They've kind of slipped here over the past month. And I don't think Kentucky should have been in the field to begin with. But, yeah, I mean, I think I could see Upstate hanging with Clemson a little bit on Friday night. Obviously, if I was Clemson, I'd pitch Connect and not take any risk, though.
Braxton, your alma mater, sir, USC Upstate. What's going to happen down there in Clemson?
Yeah, I mean, I think they will throw Kanak on Friday night. I am going to actually pick Upstate. I picked him earlier on Steven's show. I'm going to pick him again.
Hey.
I'm going to go with Upstate to take this regional, and here's why. I think they're used to playing Clemson. They've beat Clemson. I beat Clemson when I was at Upstate. They know how to beat this Tigers team. They know how to play here. This Kane Sweeney's done a phenomenal job with this team. They're hot right now. They won the Big South tournament, obviously, and the other I think they got a really favorable draw. I think when you look at these 3 teams, they've all kind of been trending down over the past month or so. You like Reed said, WVU started really, really hot. They kind of boat raced the Big 12, and then all of a sudden, they kind of hit a wall. They got swept by Kansas, I think it was. They had some rough series, and then I think they lost in the Big 12 semifinals as well, or maybe the round before. But Kentucky was a bubble team. They weren't even sure they were going to make the tournament. I think they're definitely capable. Going to Omaha last year, they're definitely a very good. That's a tough 3 seed to see in your regional if you're Clemson. I think we did predict that as well for the curveball projection. But I think this is going to come down to Clemson and Upstate in a kind of final as the final 2. Because I think Clemson, if they end up dropping that first game, I think they're going to claw their way back to get to the final. But give me the Spartans. We're going to a super. Why not keep the train rolling right from High Point straight down to Clemson, and then we'll go from there. But
Caleb, are you going with the Spartans too?
I love that pick, Braxton. I know you're a former Spartan yourself, and hey, they've been hot as of late. They've only lost 2 games in the month of May. They've been rolling, beating High Point in their conference championship, and this is one of those regionals where it's going to be wild. Anything can happen. I mean, these, like you were saying, 3 of these teams are just trending downwards. I thought Kentucky should at least been in the last 4 in, but they was comfortably in somehow, and even though they're 5 games above 500. West Virginia, they were so good, and they're 1-5 in their last 6. They're 23-5 on the road. It's tough to say. I mean, USC Upstate and Clemson, I think it'll be the finals, like Braxton was saying. I think Clemson's going to take it. I think Clemson just has the depth and the experience there in Bakich. Just a very phenomenal coach, and I think they're going to take the regional. And I think 7 games. I think it will go to an if necessary game.
Yeah, and as I stated this morning, the Big South likes to cause havoc down there in Clemson. Last year, High Point went down there, eliminated Vanderbilt. Shout out Adam Stewart, our good friend that eliminated him and had an All-American regional. But the Clemson shortstop took the all-regional team. Forgot that guy's name, but Adam Stewart should have been on it. But that was a heck of a regional. So I think the Big South just rips up Clemson again, rips up this regional, and Upstate comes out on top of this regional. Braxton?
Should we just throw a little wager like on DraftKings? Or
We should.
I'm down. I mean, look, like Caleb said, a lot of this it could happen. There's always a 4 seed every year that makes some noise. I'm just really happy that they got to a regional, and now, when I first looked at the draw, I was thinking like, okay, that's a tough draw. But when I really sat and thought about it, like they could definitely make noise. They've got enough obviously we talked about the offense, but I think they've got enough pitching to compete as well here. So I'm really excited to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, considering Clemson's history too, you look at how they've played at home as a regional host over the past couple years. I know they finally won a regional last year. Obviously, they lost on their home field in the Super Regional, but they've had multiple great teams go out early in the region. I don't think they've made a dome hall since 2008 or 9. I could be wrong. I think it's one of those years.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about that today on Steven's show this morning, how Clemson does have these good teams, but sometimes just getting over the hump. And last year, that Florida-Clemson series was crazy. There were brawls, ejections. It was a pretty nuts series last year, and kind of unfortunate the way things kind of went their way because Florida, like one of the last teams in last year. I mean, I wouldn't say last, but I mean they were definitely underdogs going in on this.
Huh? Yeah, they were a 3 seed.
Yeah,
the last team in.
You're right. Yeah, last team in and just went on this run, just kind of like a unlucky draw there for Clemson. But then again, you do have to play the cards you're dealt. All right, let's keep it in. Let's keep it in South Carolina. Reed Tobin, where will you be this weekend, sir?
I will be in Conway this weekend. I'll be making the trip down early Friday morning. Very excited. Obviously, we'll see the weather. Looks pretty iffy for Friday, but this is a loaded regional, in my opinion. I think Coastal got hosed. Stunned that they were the number 13 overall national seed. I don't know how they were behind Clemson. Better RPI, beat them both games. They've won 18 in a row. And then if I was Coastal, I would be very upset with the 2 seed Florida. Florida was borderline hosts. Had they had a better week in Hoover, they probably would have hosted. They've been on fire. They've overcame all their injuries. Is Caleb, do you know, is Colby Shelton going to play this weekend?
He's out.
He's out? Okay, they officially ruled him out. I know I saw some talk that he potentially returned this weekend, but, this Florida team can really hit the ball. 88 homers on the year. Coastal's Park should fit right in for them. And Coastal's pitching speaks for itself. Obviously, Coastal over the years, they've been really explosive offensively. But, I mean, this pitching staff, 3 in the country in ERA. I think this is their best team since they won the national title. And then, obviously, my Pirates, can't count them out. What a run last weekend for them in Clearwater. They're hot. They're going to pitch Norby on Friday. And I think they'll have a good chance with Norby on the mound against Florida.
Yeah, Caleb, your thoughts on this regional, sir?
Man, what a regional! This is probably the best. This is probably the most competitive regional in the whole field. Like you were saying, Coastal Carolina had 13 national seed. Come on now, they're supposed to be higher than that. Yes, Coastal Carolina, I think they have 48 wins. Is that correct right now on the season?
Yep.
That's 2 wins away from their 2016 mark, where they won the national championship. Yep. This team is very good, and let me tell you, this lines up with the Auburn regional. I pray that these two meet in the Super Regional. That would be phenomenal baseball to watch. Coastal Carolina at Auburn in the Super Regional. That would be great. I would love that. And let me tell you, right now I have Coastal Carolina going to Omaha. Either way, I have them going to Omaha. This is a phenomenal team, and I love what they have over there. Florida, let me get started on them. They're favorites in this regional somehow. I'm 2 seed that you do not want to play. And Coastal Carolina, I feel sorry for having to host them because they're the hottest team in the country 2 weeks ago, and they got injuries, but despite the injuries, they keep winning. And Kevin O'Sullivan, he's just a postseason coach. He wins in the postseason. He knows how to win in the postseason, and he's going to keep on going on runs every single year. And then your East Carolina bunch, they just know how to make it to the NCAA tournament every single year. It's just bound to happen every year. They're going to be there. I mean, that's just what's going to happen with Cliff Godwin's club. But like I was saying, Coastal Carolina, I like them a lot. I have them as right now an Omaha pick, beating Auburn in the Super Regional. So I'm going to stick with my gut there. I like this team a lot, and I see them winning the regional. Even though it's going to be a very tough regional, I see them pulling it out.
Yeah, I definitely think on paper, like visually, this is one of the most intriguing regionals. You have three pretty big college baseball brands there in Coastal Florida and ECU. And Caleb, I'm pretty sure it's announced. I know I got a text that it's going to be Ethan Norby versus Liam Peterson on Friday. No, I mean whenever they play because of the weather. But you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, two of the best pitchers here in the South. I mean, Ethan Norby and Liam Peterson. Peterson's been lights out this year. One of the best SC pitchers in, I mean, the past month. He's been absolutely elite.
Yeah, it's gonna be something to watch. And Braxton, I know you're very high in this coastal squad, like Caleb is. Your thoughts on this regional, sir?
Yeah, I mean he hit all the points. I mean 48 wins at this stage. I've honestly been really surprised with Kevin Schnall. Obviously he's been around the program, but he's still his first year at the helm. And I'm just I do also want to point out, like, we had this 1 through 3, 1, 2, and 3 seed exactly correct. I had a feeling, I had a hunch that Florida would go to Conway and then ECU as well. Obviously, I was hoping that Upstate would be the 4 seed in this regional, like we were kind of talking about pre-show. But yeah, man, I like Coastal win this regional. I just think that they're too good. I think that they're really good. They've got a legit 3-man rotation in Morrison, Flukie, and Eichhoff. I think that you've had two kind of teams that are just happy to be here in Florida and ECU this year. I mean, they're obviously used to being in the tournament, but this year they haven't had great seasons. And Florida's obviously turned it on here late, through the last couple months. But ECU obviously is really happy to be here. But they're going to fight as well. Don't get me wrong. That's what the Pirates do. They're here to win a regional. But I like Coastal, man. I just think this is their year. I think they could have a shot at Omaha too this year. I think that they're just one of the best teams in the country, and they did get kind of hosed with that without getting a top 8.
Yeah, just kind of before I get into my thoughts analysis, imagine if Upstate was in this regional. This would be like one of the hardest regionals in like the last 10 years. If Upstate was in this regional, that'd be absolutely insane. But my prediction, I think everyone listening can guess that I said it today on Steven's show. I have the Pirates coming out of here. It may be bold, but I mean, they've just proved me wrong time and time again. I mean, and I think if there's a year they're going to do it, it's going to be this year. I've said it this year. Me and Rhea have talked about it. In the past, they've had All-Americans on the mound, All-Americans all over the field. And this year they don't. They're extremely young. They're basically all freshmen out there playing in the lineup, young pitching staff. And I think that they're young and they're scrappy and they just know how to win now, going down there to Clearwater, doing what they did. I just feel good about them. Braden Burris is an absolute stud. And I think that any game you have Ethan Norby on the mound starting, I think you have a chance to win. So I have them beating Florida on that Friday. Hopefully they get it played. Then Saturday night in Coastal Carolina, that will be an absolute madhouse. As we have one of our staff members, James Malice, we have an All-American. His name is Riley Johnson. I mean, I think Riley Johnson is an All-American, but he only played like 10 games this year. Caleb, have you seen any of Riley Johnson's catches this year?
I have not.
Oh, my gosh. Just look up Riley Johnson on Twitter. He is like Superman out there. It's actually pretty ridiculous. All right, boys. Any other comments on this one before we move on?
I'll give my prediction. I didn't say anything. I don't think anyone said anything about Fairfield. Fairfield is probably one of the better 4 seeds, but I think they got their hands tied. I've ran multiple scenarios of what I could see happening this weekend in Conway. But ultimately, I think Coastal will beat Florida on Monday in an extra game to advance to the Supers.
All right, well, let's flip to across the country to Corvallis. And Reed, I'll let you lead off of this one, sir.
Yeah, Oregon State, playing this year as a independent. And I think this is a tricky regional. TCU was borderline hosts. Some could argue they should have been a host. I don't think Oregon State should have been a top 8 personally. Playing a no conference tournament. Losing 4 games to Oregon earlier in the year. USC, they were hot right there end of April in Big Ten play, but they kind of faded right down there at the end of the season. St. Mary's could pose some trouble. They can really pitch the ball pretty well. I'm going to take TCU, though, to defeat Oregon State in the regional final, though. Yeah,
I don't know too much about some of these West Coast teams, but I'm going to go with TCU here. I think that in the postseason they always seem to flip a switch. I will say traveling to Corvallis is going to be a little colder, maybe a little wet there, maybe tough travel there, but I do have TCU coming out of this. What about you, Caleb?
I'm agree with you guys. I have TCU advancing out of this regional. I mean, Oregon State hadn't played in 2 weeks. Is that going to affect them? I mean, not being in the conference, they haven't played their last 4 games was Portland and Long Beach State. I mean, I think no juggernauts there. And like TCU's been playing in the Big 12, but TCU's number 17 in RPI. I thought they was on the hosting bubble. I thought they were going to be one of those last hosts, but they were not. And I think they got a pretty tough draw with Oregon State, but I think they can pull it out over there in Corvallis. And I got TCU upsetting the Beavers.
Braxton?
Yeah, I'm going Horned Frogs. I think they should have been a host. I think that was a little bit harsh on them. I think if they win that Big 12 championship, they probably are a host right now. But I like their draw here. I think that they'll beat Southern Cal, and I think they'll beat Oregon State as well. And I think TCU will be in a super regional next week.
All right, let's keep it on the West Coast here as we go not too far down the road in Eugene. This is paired with the Chapel Hill Regional Read, so I will kick it off to you to start off with.
Yeah, this is a really tricky draw, in my opinion, for Oregon. Like I just said, I thought they should have been seated above Oregon State, but, look at Oregon. Mason Neville leads the countries in homers with 26 homers on the year. They can really hit the ball. Arizona is on fire, though. Back-to-back conference tournament titles, first year in the Big 12 this year. That is a very dangerous 2. And then you look at Cal Poly. I think they winning the Big West this past week got them into the field. They kind of lacked those marquee wins, but taking out Irvine was very impressive. I think that's one of the best 2-3 games on Friday.
Caleb?
Yeah, like you guys were saying, this is another one of those even regionals. Tough draw for Oregon going against a very high Arizona team. They swept through the Big 12 tournament, outscored their opponents 18-3. And like Reed was saying, they won the Pac-12 last year tournament, and then they win the Big 12 this year. This team just knows how to win in the postseason. They've been very good. And Cal Poly is no pushover. They've been one of the best mid-major programs in the country this year, and they have 40 wins themselves. So I'm going to go with Arizona to win this regional. I think Arizona's just heating up at the right time, and they got the playmakers to win a regional just like this one.
Yeah, Caleb, this one's going to be really fun watching it at night after our regionals are kind of coming to an end. This one's going to be on pretty late during the night, so it's going to be fun watching this one later. And with that being said, I'm going to go with a little bit of an underdog here, not too big of an underdog. I'm going to go with Cal Poly. Like Caleb said, they've been one of the top mid-majors all year. I went to a mid-major for college. I love supporting the mid-majors. I love it. However, my mid-major is going to beat the mid-major host they're at, but we'll see. I have Cal Poly winning. Braxton, how about you?
Yeah, I was torn between Oregon and Cal Poly. I'm going to take the host Oregon just because I think I really want to see them in North Carolina in a super. I think that would be awesome. But I do like this Cal Poly team. I think they'll beat Arizona. So I think you'll see that Oregon versus Cal Poly matchup on the second day. But give me Oregon and Eugene to take it in the Ducks.
All right. Well, let's move back across the country to SEC land. And Caleb, I will let you lead off with this one, sir.
Yeah, you got number 3, Arkansas. I think they got a good draw for themselves in Fayetteville. Wahiwa Aloy, if you know the name, he's one of the best players in the country. He was SC Player of the Year. And I think those 2 brothers, Aloy brothers, they're just going to be crushing the baseball over the park this weekend against Kansas and Creighton and North Dakota State. I see Arkansas taking this easy. I see Arkansas sweeping the regional.
Yeah, Reed, thoughts on Zach Root, and will he pitch on Friday or Saturday?
I'm going to say he'll probably pitch Friday. He's been pretty sensational this year for the Razorbacks. 106 strikeouts on the season. But I think this is a tricky draw for Arkansas. The past 2 years they've gotten upset in the regional. Creighton's been on fire for about the past month. They ran through that Big East tournament. And Kansas, the Kansas has had, historic season for that program. I think one of those 2 teams can give Arkansas some fits. I'm going to go with Arkansas beating Kansas on Monday.
Okay. Braxton?
Yeah, I like Arkansas to take this regional pretty easily. I don't think Kansas or Creighton can match up with them as well as maybe some other 2s and 3s out there could have. And I just think Arkansas will be in a super regional, and I think they would host the winner of the Knoxville regional in super. So that'll be very interesting. But yeah, I think Arkansas runs this table.
No one has any thoughts or comments on 20 and 32 North Dakota State?
No,
Took down Oral Roberts in the title.
They did.
and that was a shock.
Very, very impressive. But to wrap it up here, I have Arkansas here. I think them at home. I think they're one of the most complete teams on the mound. And as Caleb said, in the field, they just have guys all over the field that can hit and play defense. So I have Arkansas coming out of there. Sorry, excuse me. The next regional, not too far down the road, we have the Muffin Mat Regional, Hattiesburg, Southern Miss. Reed, I will let you lead off with this one. Southern Miss with I would say, kind of a tricky draw here with 2 Power 4 or 5 teams, whatever you want to call the conferences now, in their regional.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most loaded regionals. Obviously Alabama had a case to host. I mean, it felt like the committee was just going straight down with the RPI and skipped over Alabama. But Southern Miss had been on fire. I mean, they've won 18 out of their last 19. The end of the year, they had that series win over TCU too at the beginning of the year. They can really hit the ball. We know that atmosphere down at that park is going to be rocking. I'm not big on Miami. They really limped to the finish after catching fire there, late April, early May. Columbia, though, don't sleep on them. They can make some noise as a 4. Obviously, you look at Bama, one of the best shortstops in the country, and Justin LeBron. I'm going to go with – I've been torn on this one too. I'm going to take – I think this one definitely goes to Monday. I'm going to take Bama over Southern Miss on Monday.
Caleb, does your crosstown rival get it done in Hattiesburg?
I'm going to agree with Reed. I think it does go to Monday. I think Southern Miss does take it. But that is a very tough draw if you're Southern Miss. I mean, they finished off as one of the hottest teams in the country. I think they lost the Sun Belt Championship to Coastal Carolina. It was a close game, but they finished off one of the hottest teams in the country. Got that last host seed as a number 16, so they'll go to the Super Regional playing the 1. So that's going to be very tough. But I think Southern Miss does get it done. Alabama started off as one of the hottest teams in the country. I think that was top 10 at one point, and they've cooled off a little bit. One of their best players, Justin LeBron, he's a Golden Spike semifinalist. That's one guy you want to watch for. He's going to have a big stick in the lineup, and I think Southern Miss takes care of business here. I mean, J.B. Middleton, if you know the name, he's going to be the stud. That's going to be the mound for the Golden Eagles, and he's been the best pitcher in the mid-majors, I think, in the entire country.
Braxton?
Yeah, I was going to go Bama. At first, I did switch my pick to Southern Miss. I think this Hattiesburg crowd is going to be really, really into it, like we've talked about. And I think Alabama's a really good SEC team. I'm not big on Miami. I know they finished the season pretty poorly. I think they were like 1-6 in the last 7 games to end the season, including losing in Durham. And I just think Southern Miss is a really good ball club. Like you said, Caleb, the end of the year really hot. They love hosting regionals down there, as we know. And, I mean, this ball club's hungry to get to Omaha.
That's one of the toughest places to play in the country. Pete Taylor Park.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that I think they're going to show out this regional, and I think they're going to win it. So I'm going to go with the Golden Eagles over Alabama on the last day.
Yeah, I am with you, Braxton, as well. I think Southern Miss gets this one done down there. Want to give a quick shout-out to Josh Rudd. Says, keep up the good work, man. Go Knowles. They are coming up, and Josh Rudd also throws in Miami plus 400 is a great bet. Yeah, I don't think that's bad value at all, considering.
Imagine had Virginia been in that regional. Virginia swept Miami. I might have picked Virginia to win that regional. I thought they got hosed. I thought they should have been in over the likes of Kentucky, Miami. And then no.
All right, Caleb, I'll let you lead off with this one. Another SEC host here in Tennessee.
Yeah, we got Tennessee in it, Wake Forest, Cincinnati, and Miami, Ohio. Tennessee maybe not be the Tennessee of old, the Tennessee that won the national title last year, but they're still a very good team. They did get secured that one of those last host spots. I was a little iffy down the stretch there, seeing if they're going to host or not, and they did end up hosting. And they're going to host a Wake Forest team that's been kind of inconsistent, I guess you could say the least, this season. But I think Tennessee takes care of this regional. It's a very, very fine draw for them, and I think they'll win it easily.
Braxton, do the Demon Deacons make some noise in Knoxville?
No, I think that I actually have a prediction that they're going to go 2-0. I think that you just don't know what you're getting with this Deeks team. I think they could either sweep the regional or go 2-0. Like I said, I just don't think you're going to see a super regional without Tony Vitella and the Volunteers in it. So I'm going Tennessee to take care of business here at home. I think Cincinnati's an interesting team to be in there. I think they could obviously. I think they're going to beat Wake on the first day. I think they'll give Tennessee some trouble and have a lead if that game happens. But I think Tennessee ultimately is just the best team out of these four. I think they take it.
Reed Tobin.
Yeah, I mean, like y'all said, Wake's been so consistent throughout the year. Cincy, shout out Carrington Cross, Big 12 Player of the Year. Could give this regional Tennessee and Wake some fits. But I think Liam Doyle, Andrew Fisher is going to be too much. The atmosphere over in Knoxville will be too much to overcome. Give me Tennessee 3-0.
Yeah, I have Tennessee here. I know they've had an up and down season, had some tough outs at home, but I kind of think, like Braxton said, this Wake team can sweep the regional or go 0-2 like they did last year. I know last year was a major disappointment for them. Coming in preseason number 1, go down to Greenville, go 0-2. They ran into 2 absolute buzzsaws on the mound, and Kyle Gordon for VCU, then Trey Savage. So I definitely think they're looking for some bounce back here, and I definitely think the opportunity presents itself there for sure. As Josh Rudd comments, Wake has a thing for winning regionals. Yeah, and I think that this is one that they can definitely win because, as Caleb said, this is not the Tennessee of old, but they are vulnerable. But then again, you are playing down there in Rocky Top, and when Rocky Top is blaring on volume 100, it is hard to win in Knoxville.
If Wake can get any form of pitching this weekend, they'll have a chance. If Lunson Ford can go back to his form that he had, right at the beginning of the season with that Wake offense, I think they can give Tennessee a run for their money.
All right. We going back across the country?
Yep, LA.
Yep. Reed, I'll let you lead this one off.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised UCLA was a host. I know their RPI was top 15, but they had a lack of quad 1 wins. I didn't agree with them being a host. But I think Irvine's going to take this regional. They've been really good all year. They can really pitch the ball. I think they'll get through Arizona State on Friday night. And UCLA and Irvine, they've already played each other, I think, twice this year. So both teams pretty familiar with each other. Yes, James, I'm going to take Irvine plus 290.
Caleb?
I agree with James. Plus 290 UC Irvine. I was thinking about picking UCLA, but I think the winner of UC Irvine, Arizona State, is going to win the regional. I just don't like a lot about this UCLA team, and I think Irvine's going to get it done, even though they lost the Big West Championship to Cal Poly. They hit a skid there, but I think UC Irvine, one of the best mid-majors in the country. I think they're going to get it done. And if you did not know, Fresno State was a 4 seed in 2008 when they won the national title. Is that going to happen this year? I don't think so, but it's possible. It is possible. What you need to watch for that.
Yeah, it is definitely possible. And like you guys said, I do like UC Irvine and Arizona State. I think the winner of that game has a great shot to win this region. I think UCLA is a good team, but I think that part of hosting a regional is having a great environment. I don't think UCLA is going to have the best environment in the world. I think you could argue maybe one of the worst of the regional hosts. They don't have a very big stadium. When I was looking at pictures for these graphics, their stadium was not very big at all. Pretty interesting. So I do have UC Irvine here, Braxton.
Yeah, you guys are kind of stealing the words out of my mouth. I like Irvine a lot. I do like whoever wins that game between Irvine and Arizona State. I think that's probably going to be the game I'm going to be paying close attention to late night there on Friday. as it'll be on late. I really like watching this Anteaters team late at night, and then Arizona State. I've been high on them all year. I'm really glad they got into the tournament. I was kind of worried they might not. And I'm also really happy that Fresno ended up taking the Mountain West because I think that they can make some noise as well. They could even beat UCLA there on day one. So, yeah, I'm really, really excited. I don't believe in UCLA either, just like y'all were talking about. I think UC Irvine's just better, and I think they get out of this regional.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
Fresno's a really good Friday pitcher, I'm pretty sure, too. I think a few years ago, UCLA was the #1 overall seed and got bounced to Maryland, I believe. I don't
Was
know if
that 2019?
I think it was 19, yeah, when Maryland beat them.
All right, let's head down to Broadway. Nashville, the Vanderbilt, the Vandy Boys. Caleb, thoughts on the Vandy Boys in Nashville?
Let me tell you, this team has snuck up on, I think, everybody in the country just out of nowhere and just stole the #1 overall seed. I saw Vanderbilt play this weekend at the SC tournament, this past weekend, SC tournament. And let me tell you, that team is fundamentally sound. Probably the most fundamental sound team in the entire country. Tim Corbin's got the boys rolling. That was their second SC championship in the last 3 years. They're a machine. I think they're going to come in here and take care of business and do what Vandy boys do.
Yeah, and that's win regionals and go to supers. Reed?
Yeah, I agree. They've been on fire this past month. I'm not high on Louisville. I think they really limped to the finish line. I think a team that could make some noise in this regional is Eastern Tennessee. They can really hit the ball. They're 4th in the country on home runs with 119 this year. And then obviously, Wright State, they've given teams fits before, but I think Vandy will be too much to handle in the Whistler.
Yeah.
ETSU did beat Vanderbilt on March 18th, 7-6.
And they beat Tennessee. I think they gave Tennessee their first loss of the season too.
Yeah.
Braxton?
I'm sticking with Vandy as well. I think R.J. Austin and Jonathan Bastine and some of those guys are just too good. I think ETSU could surprise Louisville as well. And also Wright State's a really tough 4 seed for Vandy as the 1 overall, but I still think that they're going to be able to be just fine and pull this one out. I mean, we all remember what happened when Wright State went down to the state of Tennessee a few years ago and that crazy game, that crazy walk-off that happened in Tennessee's favor. But I think you could see something like that happen again here in Nashville where they could potentially walk off Wright State. But I'm going Vandy. They're the 1 overall for a reason. Like Caleb said, they're one of the hottest teams in the country right now. And it's time to start looking at what they're doing. I think Tim Corbin could be eyeing up Omaha yet again and getting the Vandy boys back there. So give me the Commodores.
Yeah, and I'm with Josh Rudder. I think Louisville plus 425 as a 2 seed is really good value. But I do think, as Caleb said, this Vanderbilt squad coached by Corbin is just so fundamentally sound and just knows how to win ball games. So give me the Vandy boys down there in Broadway.
Oxford.
All right, Reed, I'll kick it off with you, sir. Georgia Tech going down there to Ole Miss, kind of probably a little upset that the ACC regular season champion is not a regional host.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was another issue I had with the committee. First time since 1999, the ACC regular season champ did not get to host. I think this is a really scary draw for Ole Miss. Obviously they had a great run in Hoover to position themselves to host. They were kind of right there on the bubble headed into Hoover. But with the way that Drew Burgess has been swinging the bat, over the past 2 weeks, Western Kentucky, they were one of the last few teams in. They have one of the best pitching staffs in the country, top 5 in ERA. I like Georgia Tech, though, to get through. Murray State, they've had a good year, too. I think Georgia Tech will beat Ole Miss in a winner-take-all on Monday.
Caleb, what's the rundown on this Ole Miss team?
This is another one of those very, very interesting regionals. I think the Georgia Tech storyline is probably the biggest story out of the bracket that came out this year. They're pissed. Let me tell you, they're pissed. They wanted to host a regional and they didn't get to. ACC regular season champs, and they're coming in as a 2 seed to Oxford. And Ole Miss did not want that. Let me tell you, Mike Bianco, their team is hot right now, but that's going to be an electric game. Ole Miss Georgia Tech on Saturday night. We're going to see that. That's going to be a fun one to watch. That'd be must-watch TV. Swayze Field's going to be packed. It's going to be a crazy game. I think the Yellow Jackets are going to come in pissed. I think they're going to take care of Ole Miss. I think they're going to win this regional. I like the Yellow Jackets a lot in this regional. That plus 180 is very good value.
Yeah, speaking of value, Braxton, I think you'll agree with this one, sir. Western Kentucky plus 400 value here. Braxton, don't want to give away your pick, sir, but who are you feeling here, bud?
Yeah, that Ole Miss Georgia Tech game is not going to happen. Maybe if they both lose, because Western Kentucky's taking this region. The Hilltoppers are probably going to be my Cinderella pick of this season. I think they're hot right now. They've got some sort of magic that's going on. I watched a little bit of the Conference USA tournament. They had a couple walk-offs. I don't know. This team I think they're 46-12 or something like that. I think this team is really, really good, and I think a lot of people are going to overlook them with the likes of Ole Miss and Georgia Tech, who I'm not high on either of those teams. I know Georgia Tech won the ACC, but they didn't play some of the better teams in the ACC. They did lose in the ACC tournament to Clemson in the semifinals, and I just think that Western Kentucky, man, they beat Dallas Baptist earlier in the year. Did they sweep them or just win 2 out of 3?
I can't think. I think it was.
I believe they won the series for sure. But yeah, give me Western Kentucky, dude. I think this is one of the stories of the postseason, and I think they win in Oxford and then go to a super.
Hey, I'll tell you what. If Western Kentucky comes out of this one in Oxford with Georgia Tech, and someone that hasn't been talked about as much, Reed, is Murray State. This is a 39-13 Murray State team. I mean, Reed, this is a no slouch 4 seed here in Murray State.
Yeah, we've seen Ohio Valley teams make runs before. Obviously, you think back on Tennessee Tech a few years ago, one went away to getting to Omaha. Ole Miss has got to be ready to go Friday. I mean, this is a loaded regional.
Yeah, we might see the Ole Miss Georgia Tech game as an elimination game on Saturday there, Caleb.
It's possible. Yeah, good.
I think Tennessee Tech played in Ole Miss regional too. So, who knows, maybe a little Ohio Valley magic still.
All right, in the final regional, Josh Rudge Knowles. This is a very, very intriguing regional. I'm going to have my eye on this one very close. Reed, I will let you lead off with this one. I know you have been high on this Northeastern team all season long. You've ramped and raved about them. Reed, can they get it done in Tennessee?
It's going to be really tough. This is a brutal draw for them. Even that first game, too, against Mississippi State is going to be tough. But what's not to like about Northeastern? They've won 28 in a row, best ERA in the country. Look at Will Jones, 11-0 on the season, 1.9 ERA. They're 2 and 3 starters on the weekend. Great, insane stats, too. They can still really hit the ball, too. Harrison Feinberg, 18 homers on the year. Cam Maldonado, 15. This team can get it done in a lot of different ways. But, I think Alex Odis, that Florida State pitching, I think is going to be too much for Northeastern to handle. I would love to see them go up against Parrish, but I don't think Northeastern will get it done. I think the winning streak comes to an end this weekend. I've got FSU going 3-0.
Caleb?
Yeah, this is another one I'm going to keep my eyes on. It's a phenomenal draw for Florida State, Northeastern Mississippi State, and Bethune-Cookman. This is a pitching regional. This is be pitchers heavy. Florida State's got Jamie Arnold. Northeastern's got the best pitching staff stats in the entire country. Then they've had 12 shutouts in the entire season. That's like 25% of their wins. Mississippi State's got Pico Khan. Bethune-Cookman, shout out to Bethune-Cookman. They won the SWAC tournament on a 3-run walk-off. It was pretty electric if you didn't see it. But Florida State, I think I see Northeastern winning game 1 against Mississippi State. I think Florida State, like Reed was saying, it's too good. It's at Florida State. Their home crowd gets into it. They're going to be rowdy. It's going to be a fun one to watch. I think Florida State does take it. It could go to Monday, but I think Florida State does take it.
Braxton?
I agree 100% with Caleb right here. I think Northeastern does win the game 1. I think Florida State I think Lee Jarrett is the key here. I don't think he loses this regional at home. I'm going Knowles, man. I just think they're a really good ball club. They played Carolina really tight last week, and I think they're obviously they lost the series to them at home, but I think that just watching them play against North Carolina and watching them throughout the season, they've got some absolute studs down there, and I don't think they're going to have any problem winning this regional. They're very well coached, and expect to see them in Omaha again. I would say honestly.
Yeah, I'm rolling with the Knowles here too. I think, as you guys said, just too much talent. And I want to touch on this comment from Josh Rudd. I'm a big fan and friendly with Glevon, but CAA ain't close to the same level as the rest of these guys. And yeah, they do have the best stats in the country. But then again, take it with a small grain of salt. I mean, they're still pitching against D1 competition, D1 batters, and there are some good players in the CAA. But I mean, they have not been in an environment even close to this all year or seen this type of power hitting from these teams. So I do have Florida State coming out of this one. So Reed, sorry about your Northeastern, but their magical run might come to an end here, sir.
I mean, yeah, I was with y'all. I think Florida State will end it.
Yeah. All right, boys. Any other comments do you want to touch on? I would kind of like to get into super regional matchups, but I think that is just a little. I mean, we can if we want, but I mean, this is so hard to predict. I mean, we did this on Steven's show today. We'll kind of go around the horn. We'll start with Caleb. Who is your dark horse to make it to Omaha? Maybe a team that kind of under the radar is a dark horse team to make it Omaha.
Well, like I was saying earlier, I have Coastal Carolina right now going, defeating Auburn on the road, which is a very tough thing to do. Auburn has a very good home crowd and home environment. So if you think that's under the radar, I'd say Coastal Carolina. That's probably my biggest pick right now to go to Omaha.
Braxton?
Dark horse, I like UTSA, and then obviously Western Kentucky too. I think they could also get hot if they get out of that regional. Like I said, I think these two guys in UTSA and Western Kentucky have some weird magic going on right now. I think it's maybe a little Cinderella story there, and there's one every season. We see it every year where there's a couple of low seeds or even just mid-major teams or whatever it is that just make some noise. And I think those are two really, really good candidates for that. So we'll go with them.
Reed Tobin.
Yeah, I think it's been 7 straight years a 3 or 4 seed's been to Omaha. So that makes me feel like I should pick one of those, a 3 or 4 seed to advance. But, what my sleeper pick, I'm going to go with, I think Irvine. I think Irvine can really get it done this year. They've been sensational all year long. I know they didn't get it done in the Big West tournament last week, but, I think they'll beat UCLA in that regional. Texas will be a tough super regional matchup, but I think they could win that as well, with Texas kind of struggling here over the past few weeks.
Irvine UTSA would be an electric super regional. I don't even know where they'd play that.
Yeah, that's
definitely Irvine. UTSA does not have the facilities to do that at all.
I think that'd just be a coin flip.
It would be Irvine, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think to my knowledge from talking with Steven, I don't think UTSA even put a bid in to host.
No, they didn't. They didn't.
Yeah. So
a few years ago when Southern Miss and Tennessee both advanced to the Supers, they had to flip a coin who hosted.
No, it was wasn't there an issue with Indiana State one year?
Oh yeah, well they hosted the regional and then they were supposed to host the super regional against TCU and had to go on the road. But I think a few years ago, Southern Miss got to host. They were both like 2 seeds, them in Tennessee, and then they somehow, I don't know how they decided on that, but picked Southern Miss to host over Tennessee.
Yeah, I remember that. And Tennessee won. That was the year that they
won in Game 3.
That was the year they had that super team, wasn't it? No. They lost to Link Jarrett. Yeah, you're right.
That was the year they beat Clemson in the regional.
Yeah, that's right. They went to Omaha.
Yeah.
Well, all right, boys, as we kind of wrap this up, Caleb, any closing thoughts and looking forward to this weekend, man?
No, I'm just ready for Friday. I mean, it's already postseason baseball. It's going to go by quick. Only about, I think, 3.5, 4 weeks left to go.
Yeah. Hopefully weather stays clear on Friday.
Are you planning to go to Omaha or anything, Caleb?
I'm not going to Omaha this year, no.
Okay, you've been before that, haven't you?
I went in 2023. Yeah, 2023 LSU World Series.
Wow.
But you're gonna try to go to obviously regionals and then hopefully a
I'm
super.
going to Auburn Regional and then Super Regional, just depending on if
Yeah.
it's in Auburn, I'll go. If it's not, probably won't.
Sweet. Well, hopefully Auburn plays. If they get out, hopefully they play a Carolina team in the supers as well.
Yeah. Me and Reed Tobin have a pact we made in college, Caleb. We have been to 5 straight EC regionals together. Wherever they go, we've decided we're going to go. So doesn't matter where. We went to Charlottesville 2 years ago. Of course, there for Texas when they came for the Super Regional. That was the most electric thing in the whole wide world when Texas came to Greenville. So hopefully me and Reed will be seeing you in Auburn soon.
Oh, yeah. So if y'all go to Super Regionals, come on.
Hopefully.
See y'all here.
Hopefully we do. Reed, looking forward to this weekend with you, man. We got the James Mouse, the technician, coming with us, as well as Steven Igo. Going to be a fun weekend down there in Conway, Reed.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Pumped up. Also excited. Can't wait for squeeze play. Just to sit in front of the TV and watch squeeze play. That's my favorite, I think, the whole tournament.
I got a bad feeling we might be watching a lot of squeeze play on Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly with the weather forecast right now, it looks like we'll be doing a lot of couch watching.
It's not a bad thing.
No.
It's not a bad thing, but there's nothing like being in a packed regional at night when it's a crisp 85 degrees, humid, packed regional. There's nothing better in the world. So looking forward to that.
It is truly the best. There's not a better sport like in terms of postseason. The regional weekend is probably top three sports days of the year. Like the regional Friday, Saturday. Can't beat it.
And me personally, I think Saturday night is the best Saturday night. If your team is in that 6:00 game, you are just juiced all day, just thinking about it. It's just the best feeling in the whole wide world.
Absolutely.
All right, boys. Caleb, thank you for coming on. It has been great to have you on. Long time no see, Caleb. Hope to see you again soon, bud.
Thank y'all for having me, guys.
Of course. Reed,
Absolutely.
I'll see you on Friday. Braxton, I'll see you soon as well, bud.